How is everybody doing? Oh, we got a silent group today.
Doing great. Good morning.
There we go. All right.
Afternoon,
What?
right?
What's that?
I said it's afternoon, right? Good afternoon.
Doing great.
That's actually very true. Yes, whoever's energy that was, I loved it. I don't know who did that, but that was awesome.
It's Carlos from Simply Vegas, just figuring out there's a mute button.
Welcome to Zoom, Carlos. That's awesome. All right. Well, listen, thank you so much for spending time out of your busy schedule for today's class titled Win with Sellers. We got a lot of great information to cover today. I am recording this class as well, so that way, for those of you that maybe need to leave our class early for an appointment or to speak with a client, no worries. We will be having it posted on our YouTube and sending that link out to all of you after the class. So let me go ahead and get this presentation up and running, and then we're going to go ahead and begin. So give me 1 second, everyone. Let's see how I do this. Share screen. And let's do this. All right. And as long as Daniel Mahabir could learn how to use this stuff. Okay. On your screen, it should only show the slide Win with Sellers, high-level skills that create clients for life. Please give me a thumbs up if that's what you're seeing on your screen. All right, so none of the behind the curtain stuff is showing. That's awesome. All right, good. Well, first off, welcome to the class Win with Sellers. The start of this class is going to be to cover what exactly is this experience that 116 of you signed up for. So although we have 23 in the room, it sounds like many of you will be catching this on demand. So let's just go ahead and give a brief introduction to the class as well as who I am. Win with Sellers is actually one of the top classes that Keller Williams University, our in-house education department, has put together. It teaches agents like yourself a model for taking more listings and servicing those sellers all throughout what we call the seller servicing cycle. So we're going to go into how this class is going to be broken up. Typically, this is it is a one class that is all day, a pretty long and exhaustive affair. Given everything that's going on and the fact that many of you agents are probably zoomed out, we decided to take this long course and break it up into 4 separate sections. So I'm going to show you what that breakup looks like in just a moment here. But without further ado, let me just give you guys a brief introduction in regards to who I am and why I'm qualified to be teaching this class here with you all. So my name is Daniel Mahabir, the team leader and CEO for Keller Williams VIP. We are one of the 6 Keller Williams locations in Las Vegas. We are the one that's located in the northwest part of town. And upon taking over as the team leader and CEO for the company a little over a year and a half ago, we have actually increased our listing output by about 75%, just under 75%. And that's come from truly the training and the implementation of very specific models from our agents when it comes to taking listings. So today's class is going to actually introduce you to some of those concepts that we had many of our agents, some of which are brand new to the industry, learn and implement into their business so that they can be taking listings within their first 90 days in the business. For those of you that are Keller Williams agents that are joining us today, hopefully this is going to be considered a refinement of that seller servicing cycle or an introduction for some of you that are new to our family. For those of you that are non-KW, I first want to thank you for joining us for today's experience. Hopefully you will take something out of this class, and then you'll get an introduction into what Keller Williams is all about, which is models and systems. We don't really like to have our agents experimenting and wasting a lot of time and money. So this is going to teach you one of those models. As far as the class is concerned, let's go ahead and show you exactly how it's going to be broken down. And my recommendation to all of you would be to actually get some of these dates and times that are listed on here on your calendar right away. So the first class is going to be today. It's going to be an introduction to what Win with Sellers is all about. Make sure we are all in the right mindset for what we're about to embark on. And then we're going to go in depth into our first and probably our biggest topic out of the whole experience, which is going to be lead conversion. This Friday, ideally we were going to be doing this one class a week, but due to last week's unforeseen family circumstance for myself, which, by the way, thank you all for your messages of condolences and all that. I really appreciated the patience and understanding there. This Friday, we're going to be hosting class number 2, which is going to be on the pre-listing experience, as well as the listing consultation. So again, we're getting into the meat and potatoes of your listings. Part 3, which will be the following Friday on the 24th from 12 to 2, will be about servicing and marketing. And the second half will be on offers and negotiations. And then finally, we'll round out the Win with Sellers experience, going over the contract to close. So once you get a listing under contract, how do you systematize every part of that experience so that it's truly a leveraged aspect of your business? And once the transaction closes, what sort of post-close systems can you put in place to continue to pour out more referrals and business from each of the listings you take on? So we're going to go over everything when it comes to a listing. Many of you are going to be taking a lot of notes and hopefully getting some best practices to implement into your business that day. For those of you that might need a little bit more one-on-one support, know that I am willing to help you any way I can. My big mission behind this class is 1, to introduce as many agents as possible to what Keller Williams is about. 2, to strengthen the businesses of those that are already with us. And then 3, to get into relationship with all of the agents across Las Vegas. And so one of the ways that I'll support you is go to meetmahabir.com if for any reason you're needing some additional one-on-one guidance. If you go to meetmahabir.com, you'll see that there are some different one-on-one sessions that I'm happy to conduct with any of you. Upon clicking one of those sessions there, you'll open up to my calendar automatically. You book your session and you'll automatically be on the calendar. All right. So drop a 1 in the chat if you're ready to begin this thing already. Just go ahead and drop a 1. Let's see how many of you guys are ready to begin. And if you're not, unmute yourself and ask me any questions. So I got a couple 1s. There's 3. All right, 4. Okay, here we go. Now we're starting to flood the chat. Also making sure that we have some people that are awake. I know it's 12 o'clock, time to eat some lunch. If you're about to stuff your face with potato chips, by all means do so. Let's sit back, relax, and have a good time learning. All right, there we go. Thank you, Andrew. All right, so let's go ahead and jump into some things. We are going to start today's class with an introduction to the entire experience as a whole. And the introduction portion is going to be ensuring that all of you are in the right mindset, as well as we all together have a great understanding of what models are all about. So in order for us to get into the right mindset, I need to do a quick pulse check on everybody when it comes to listings. So I have a few questions for all of you. And I'm going to ask that the majority of you in your responses, please feel free to unmute yourself and communicate with me. We want this class to be as personable as possible. For those of you that might have a little stage fright, at least drop your response in the chat section below. But let's go ahead and start with some questions here. The first question that I have for the group, why are you here with me today? Who'd like to begin? Increase seller leads. Okay. Love that. Thank you, Carlos. Who else? Why are you here? Who'd like to unmute and share their thoughts?
I want listings to be a bigger part of my business.
Perfect. You want listings to be a bigger part of your business. I'd like to understand a little bit more about that, Adrian. Why are you looking for listings to be a bigger part of your business?
To have more time and money.
Love that, right? A lot of agents, they don't really see that aspect when it comes to taking more listings, right? It gets you back more time, and thus you could get more money in business. Beautiful. Who else? Who else? I got some in the chat box that I'll read in a few, but let's go ahead and get more voices.
And thing for me, just because I love taking classes with you. I swear I could just have a 2-minute conversation with you and I learn something every time. And give me a second. And then also, I want to learn how to get more listings also in order to be able to leverage those for, to build my database even more and maybe to, to leverage the listing as much as possible as well.
Okay, we keep using that L word. I love it. Leverage. Listings get you leverage. We're going to define that in a few here. And I appreciate the swelling of my ego as well, Edie. Always appreciate that. Who else? One more.
Yeah, hi. I'm here because, and I'm from another agency, but I'm really interested in being here because I really believe with listings, there's an art and a language that you really need to have to really be successful consistently. So I came here to learn some of that lingo and some of that artwork and some of those things that could push me up over the hill.
Beautiful. Buckle up for the entire 4-part journey. I think what today you're going to get from that is some skill set to get to the table, right? And then this Friday, you'll learn a little bit more about that art in regards to when you're across from a potential seller, what words and techniques do you need to use to actually get that agreement signed? So I love that, Tony. Thank you for that. Let's go ahead and read some of these ones in the chat box here. Let's see, trying to systematize the listing side. Man, Sonny, I swear I didn't pay Sonny to say that word systems, but that's what we're going to be talking about. Increase seller leads. Love that. You're going to take a lot out of today's class. Suzanne said different seller markets, expired for FSBOs, pre-foreclosures. So I'm assuming you want to learn a little bit more around different techniques there. We'll definitely get into that. Gladys, another one says boost my business. Adrian says he agrees. I'm assuming he agrees with systems or leverage, something along those lines. Margene says, and please correct me if I'm pronouncing your name wrong. We're going to go on a month-long journey together, so I don't want to say your name incorrect. Is it Margene? If you could give me a thumbs up or something. Additional information on getting seller leads. I work with McKenna Property Management, who's associated with KW, and I'm starting to move into sales. All right, best of luck with that transition. Help me with my listing presentation and trying to narrow it down to 30 minutes. Suzanne, I'm going to tell you a way to get your listing and presentation down to 15 minutes. That'll be on Friday, so just get ready for that. We're going to get you to the table more often today, though. And then Tony says, communicate with leads in a way that doesn't sound scripted. Love it. If anybody else has any other thoughts on why they're here, please feel free to drop it. Let's go to the next question here. What do you enjoy most about working with sellers? Let's just get a couple people to chime in here. What do you enjoy most about working with sellers? Who's got it? Who's got it? Anybody?
Yeah, so hi, manager. So I'm just, I never touched it as a sales, but what interested me is getting to know the person. That's the most important, like clients, whether it's buying sellers or rentals. So I like, talking to people, get to know them as if they're a person.
Yeah, you bring up such a good point. I mean, there's got to be an enormous level of trust there too when you're talking about getting to know them and helping them with the sale of the biggest asset of their life, right? So love that. I like marketing the property, economy of scale, love that. Can rep more sellers at once. Some of you have read some of my favorite books I'm seeing. I like making them money. Suzanne, you are funny. I like you. Edie, open houses, building a long-term relationship with them and their family, helping them with the transition. Yeah, you bring up such a good point, Edie, right? When you have buyers, I mean, yes, you're helping them with their biggest purchase. A listing, that is a whole other level of trust that's required. And when you secure that trust, man, it really builds some relationship that is almost unbreakable. Great point there. Tony, again, says, I enjoy educating them and guiding them through a scary process. It's definitely scary. Surveys will show you that 2 out of the 5 most stressful things a person will go through in their life after the death of a loved one. Anybody want to take a guess what 2 of the remaining 4 are? I'll give you a hint.
And a home is probably one of them.
Yeah, and besides divorce and public speaking, man, you guys rounded out all 5. Divorce, death, public speaking, buying a house, and selling a house. Those are the top 5 most stressful things that a person can go through in their life, right? All right, what are some challenges, if any, that you encounter when working with sellers? Setting a price. Okay, Tony, thank you for the honesty there. Pricing, okay. They have another thing on pricing. They have an inflated idea of value. Yeah, especially with what's the rhetoric of a market like the one we're in right now, where every real estate agent under the sun is saying, it's a great time to buy, it's a great time to sell. Great, I'm gonna sell it for $20,000 above market value, right? It's having that conversation and coming down to reality. Showing availability, most sellers believe their home is worth a lot more than it is. When's the right time to sell? Love all of those. And I think, Edie, you bring up an interesting one. I think COVID-19 has brought with itself some very unique challenges also, right? Sellers before, we were never concerned about sicknesses. It was the flu and that's about it. But you're seeing a very realistic fear of getting the virus. And so as a result, do I really want people coming into my house that I don't know? Yeah. When's the right time to sell? Oh, we're going to go through all of that stuff. I think those items, buckle up for, I want to say class number 3, we're going to be talking about pricing. So that'll be a good one for you guys. Trying to stage a home that just doesn't look good. I love that. I'm going to teach you about a technique, Suzanne, in class number 3 called the 4 Ds of staging. Hopefully that'll help you with that. Timeline, they want it to go at a certain pace, can't always time it perfectly, no matter how much we market or do. I've even had some upset that it's sold too quickly. Interesting. Okay. Yeah. All right. I think we've covered most of the challenges there. All right. One more, actually, this is a 2-part question here. The first one is, what is your business goal for your listing business this year? So we are in the second half of the year officially, or less than the second half. What are some of the goals that you've set yourself for the remainder of the year? Talk to me. Who's got a goal for listing business for the remainder of the year? 12 listings in 2021, so 6 more to go. Love that. In January, it was 25, but now after derailed, I want 12. Okay. You know, there's, I'll share with you this. Gene. And I hope it's Gene and not Jeanne. Again, correct me if I'm wrong there. I think something to keep in mind is goals are immovable. Goals should be treated as immovable. What changes is the plan that we take into account, right? Christina, your background looks familiar, so I love this. What's your big, can you not hear me? Not sure what's going on there. Okay. All right. So we got some goals here. I only heard it from about 3 of you guys, so sounds like there might be some things missing when it comes to your listing business goal for the remainder of the year. Is that what I'm getting? I'd like another 12, did 14 already. Suzanne, I think you better be co-teaching this with me next time. I'm gonna teach you the model for this class and then we'll be talking. Awesome, awesome. Okay, well, let's talk about one more question. This is the second part to it. How will you know when you've achieved your goal? So I think many of you have done a great job of already making your goal achievable, right? One of the things that we want to do here, and the reason why this last 2-part question is here is because of one of the concepts that I live by when it comes to these classes, okay? So here's the first soapbox that I'm going to sit on of many today. You know, when you sit in these classes, as you've probably done with many Zooms over the past 4 or 5 months of COVID-19 hitting our market, my reminder to you is don't just sit here and get education for learning's sake, get education for earning's sake. So for those of you that don't have a goal, you're not here just to learn something. And you know, this feels good and comfortable when you're sitting in a class and just sitting back, not uncomfortable, talking to strangers about their real estate goals. No. We're here to learn so we could go and implement this into our business tomorrow and go and make more money. Set a goal so that you have a North Star on where you're going to go as a result of this class. And make sure it is a SMART goal: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, or realistic, and time-bound. Okay? Make sure you have a goal and one that is achievable. All right. Now we're going to go ahead and jump into some things here. I want to start our class with a little bit of a quote from one of my good friends in this business, who I call GK. Some of you know as Gary Keller. Gary Keller is the co-founder of Keller Williams. So for those of you who don't know who he is considered one of the top innovators and minds of our business and industry. He started Keller Williams in the early 1980s as a means of introducing to our industry a very different type of company available to our agents. And so without getting too much into the Keller Williams side, Gary Keller, he's written many books that have helped agents of any affiliation company build a real estate business. One of the quotes that's relevant to this class, and again, it's about the introduction, getting us in the right mindset. He says here, when you interview the very top people and ask them what their biggest challenge is, invariably, they will tell you it is mindset. Keeping it strong, focused, and positive amid the many challenges they encounter every day on their way to the top and staying there. The vast majority say this is their top issue. Not leads, but mindset. So for those of you who haven't read the book, The One Thing, one of his books that he's written, a recommended reading for you, The One Thing. He talks about this concept where I want you all, everybody, to just imagine an iceberg, right? We've heard the iceberg analogy used in many cases. I want you to think about an iceberg. What's above surface is what we see. What's below surface is what we don't see, right? What everyone sees with the top people is profitability and productivity. We see top people work their tails off and they make a lot of money. That's what we want, right? And so we believe, because that's what's above the surface and what we see, that's what it takes in order to get to that peak. But it's what's below the surface, that foundation that it's really built off of, which in and of itself is mindset. I like to call it priority and purpose. So if you don't have priority and purpose, and if your mindset's not in the right place, you've made it a lot harder of a mountain to climb, getting to the productivity and profitability that you're looking for. So that's my way of saying what Gary is trying to say here. Here are some of the things around your mindset that we need to ensure is implemented through today's class, okay? It's what top listing agents commonly excel in. And what I would challenge you to do is think about, one, are you doing this? First of which is prioritizing and managing your leads. Are you currently doing so? And by the way, there's going to be, I think, 9 of them. When I get done with all 9 of them, I'll keep it on there so that way you could take a screenshot if you'd like. Number 2, they know their sellers inside and out. So this isn't like a transactional conversation. To Edie's point earlier, these are people that you build a long-term relationship with. To Andrew's point, these are people that you have an enormous level of trust with. So you know your sellers. They don't make decisions for people. They know really well. They have an art to facilitating decisions. So we're going to teach you how to facilitate decisions, not make decisions for people and come off forceful, right? Top listing agents commonly excel in mastering their scripts. So I heard many of you, somebody here in the chat earlier said, you know, one of the things I'm looking at doing is coming off non-scripted. Well, here's my process to you. 1, get a script and internalize it first. Master that script. Once you've internalized the script, then you could bring whatever version of yourself that's required to actually convert those deals. But these scripts are made to save you time. Stop experimenting with your language, right? So master your scripts. Hire a coach for accountability. Don't go on this journey of growing your business on your own, right? Top listing agents commonly excel in knowing their numbers. It's going to be one of the first conversations we talk about when we discuss lead conversion here. What are the numbers to know? I'll define that for you. They use their time efficiently and effectively. So I'll give you one thing when it comes to this. They know how to say one word really well. Does anybody want to guess what that word is? What is a word that, yep, there you go, Gene. Are you saying no to my question of if anybody wants to guess it, or is that your response? I'm assuming that's your response, right? They get really good at saying no. And as a result, they could use their time efficiently and effectively. Yeah, I know, I'm just giving you a hard time. Number 8, they leverage technology, right? So they know how to use technology to provide a better experience and to get their time back so they can help more clients and ultimately be more profitable. And then last but not least, this might be one for those of you that are not with Keller Williams or unfamiliar with, they embrace the 6 personal perspectives. So this is a mindset class that we are actually going to be hosting in September. So stay tuned for that class, but it's all about different levels of mindset to making sure that that's not the one thing that's getting in your way of growing a business. One of those concepts in the 6 personal perspectives is this. It's all about the idea of success and what success is built on. See, what we know about success, at least with the most successful agents in our business, those that are selling hundreds of transactions a year, it's not that they came in with something very unique, right? Something that's never been heard of before and said, I'm going to change the industry with this. You see, those top agents that are selling hundreds and thousands of transactions a year, and they do exist nationally, they have built it off of models first. What works? Where can I save time and really just implement something that I have seen has grown other people's businesses? You see, when you implement models, now you're actually starting to see your potential come through. If you want to break through that ceiling of achievement, though, because models will give you a ceiling of achievement. And this is where, that's when you implement your creativity, to bust through those natural ceilings of achievement. So what we're going to teach you today is a model. And let me introduce you what that model is here. If you don't implement this model, at the end of the day, it's okay. You're just risking wasting yourself time and money and giving your business a very unstable foundation, as the picture is depicting here. But this is our model for the seller service cycle. So this is what the experience is going to be all about. It's going to start off with ensuring you have a model for converting your leads, okay? Then what is your model for the pre-listing process, right? So I will actually show you my team's pre-listing packet so that way you can understand what sort of experience you're looking to create prior to going on the consultation. Then at the consultation, as many of you are looking forward to, we're going to talk about some best practices for converting that prospect into a signed agreement. We'll talk about, once you've signed the agreement, now what does it mean to get to work, rolling up your sleeves, servicing and marketing that listing. So that includes staging techniques, marketing techniques. We'll talk about when you're in the showing experience and it's time to collect offers, present those offers, and negotiate on your seller's behalf. What are some best practices there? We'll then finish up our experience again with this model around your contract to close process and then your post-close systems. So this is the model that we're going to implement. My recommendation to all of you would be take a screenshot of this. And as you are servicing your listings, this is a reference point on where you are at with each of your listing prospects or clients. So that as you finish this class through the month of July, you will know exactly what you need to do to execute that level of the model at a very high level. Okay? So let's finish up our introduction portion here, which is the first half of this class, by talking about a couple things here. Now, if for those of you that received my email about 40 minutes ago, the final reminder, I asked for you to bring with yourself something to take notes with. So I don't know if it's your phone, your iPad, or the traditional pen and paper, but now I'm going to go ahead and ask for all of you to go ahead and do an activity. Tony, it looks like you hit the raise hand button. Did you have a question, my friend? Let me, do I need to help unmute you?
You said you were going to go back and let us get those 9 concepts a screenshot, and you skipped over them.
You know what? I am a liar, and thank you for calling me on that. I hate lying. My wife hates when I lies. Just kidding. There we go. Okay. This is your barometer for success as a listing agent. Where are you at here? In this class, I'm not going to ask for you to rate yourself, but I will tell you one thing. When it comes to a quarterly review of your business, and by the way, if you're not doing one, you need to be doing a quarterly review. You don't just review your results, you review your skills. And this is one of those lists for you to reference back to. Where am I at when it comes to each of these items? My other thought when it comes to this list here is, where on your schedule do these activities exist? Time block each of these activities. And I'm not talking on a monthly basis. There is weekly, many of these things. In fact, some of them daily, they should be existing on your schedule. Gladys, I got your private message. And again, to everybody, yes, there's a recording of this class. So if you need to excuse yourself for any reason, take a break, go use the restroom, you will have this recording here. All right. So let's go ahead and do a couple activities really quickly, or discussions, and then we're going to jump into our first topic. And trust me when I say this first topic here is going to have some stuff to it. So the first thing is this. We're going to give you a chance to measure your mindset when it comes to this experience we're about to go on. Okay. Now, this class was designed for Keller Williams agents, so some of these things you might not know about. I'm going to run through this list here in a second. But what you're about to do is you're going to check off for each of these numbers whether that describes you. So I'm going to go through each of them. All right. I currently do the following. Give yourself a quick tick on your notepad if you time block for and lead generate 3 hours a day minimum. Now, the active lead generation doesn't necessarily need to mean you are actually on the phones or actually door knocking for 3 hours. When you are script practicing and role play, that is a part of lead generation. When you are going into your database and inputting those notes and sending those note cards, that is a part of lead generation. So that collection of activities, is there 3 hours a day on there? Hit yourself a tick. Do you have a database of METs and past clients? So basically, do you have a database that you currently manage? Give yourself a tick. Have you taken Ignite or Bold at least once in your real estate career? Those are 2 classes that Keller Williams created to get your real estate career off the ground and get you in the right mindset. Have you practiced and used scripts from Ignite or Bold? It doesn't even have to be from Ignite or Bold. Are you practicing and using scripts right now? Give yourself a tick. Have you been in the business approximately 2 years or more and consistently closed 16 or more transactions a year? By the way, if that does describe you, know that there's going to still be a ton of value for you in this class. This is not a beginner's course. Give yourself a tick. Number 6, use the available KW technique. And again, do you use technology tools in your business? Give yourself a tick. Doesn't have to be KW. Number 7, have a business website that attracts and captures customer inquiries. Number 8, do you actively use social media in your business? Number 9, do you set goals for the number of appointments and listings you need per day and per week? Give yourself a tick. Number 10, are you immersed in your market center, or that's what we call our brokerage? So are you immersed in your brokerage? Do you know your staff? Do you have a network of colleagues and vendors that you have a relationship with? And do you attend the classes and events? Are you plugged in, or are you just a place to hang your license kind of guy or girl? Have you attended Mega Camp? It's one of the biggest events in Keller, not just in Keller Williams, but in real estate. Happens once a year. It's happening in September of this year. Have you attended Family Reunion? Give yourself a tick if you've done either of those. You don't have to be Keller Williams to go to those courses, go to those events. Those are big events for our industry, and you should be plugging into those. And lastly, do you participate in some form of coaching? MAPS coaching is ours, but do you participate in some form of coaching in your business? Drop in the chat box what your score was. Drop in the chat box what your score is when it comes to your mindset around listings. I see 30 participants, so I want to see ideally 30 responses. What's your score? Tony gave a 7. Okay. Margine, a 2. Love that. Thank you for the honesty. 4.5. Interesting. Christina, unmute yourself and tell me more about that half. Deja, 4. Sunny, a 6. Okay. Keep tallying. What other tallies do we have here? We have 7, 2, 4, 4.5, 4, 6, 8. Love it, Suzanne. 7. Okay. Great. All right. Good, good. Anybody else? Looks like that's about 10 responses there. LOL, my mic was off. Social media. So you gave yourself a half point for social media. You're kind of doing it, but not at the level you expect, I'm assuming. 7s. Okay, so we got some 7s across the board almost. Perfect. Okay, don't lose 3. Love it. Keep them coming. Don't lose this rating. By the end of this class, I'm going to peel back the curtain a minute here. At the end of this class, we're going to remeasure yourself and see what are you committed to doing or have done by the end here. 4. So ideally, we're gonna talk you through enough. So at the very least, you're gonna commit to doing some of the things that aren't ticked on there. Okay, let's go ahead and continue. All right, one more discussion, and then we're gonna get into lead generation and conversion here. Think about your listing appointments. All right. Now this question here, I don't want this to be a hypothetical one. This is specifically for those that have been on listing appointments. What did you do in the process to enable that success? So actually going to the appointments, what did you do in the process to enable that success of going on listing appointments? Who here would like to share their thoughts on that?
Are you asking what we did to get the appointment?
Correct.
I mean, that starts off with way back from like role playing and stuff like that, right? I mean, you're talking about building up to get to that point.
Love that. Okay. Anybody else? So scripts practice, right? Mastering that dialogue to get to the table. What else?
Stay in touch with my database.
Woo! Adrian, I'll give you your $20 when we get done with this class. Keep in touch with that database, right? That's exactly right. One of the biggest sources of business. Anybody else? All right. Think about the listing appointments that failed. Okay, so you went on a listing appointment now, and you didn't quite have a great one. So what did you do in the process to enable that failure?
Maybe you were not prepared to give them options like a cash deal, a cash offer, something like that.
So you weren't prepared with all of the options on the table. Love that. Who else? The ones where you failed at the listing appointment, what did you do in the process to enable that? Suzanne, did not pre-qualify them enough that they were ready to sell. Love that. The qualification.
And not prepared to handle objections and things like that.
Yeah, it comes back to scripts practice, right? Didn't fully demonstrate my value. Okay. You know, I think to that point, Gian, what happens there is we make the appointment about ourselves and not about what the client was needing, right? When we don't ask enough questions, we don't know what value to demonstrate. Perfect. Okay. Love those responses. Last but not least, do any limiting beliefs keep you from the goal of changing your action? So what limiting beliefs do you currently have when it comes to listing appointments? Let's hear some of those limiting beliefs. What's holding you back from succeeding when it comes to listings? Whether it's taking more appointments, succeeding at the appointments, what limiting beliefs are you running into? Lack of experience, love that. Anybody else?
I think sometimes it's tough because you're competing against like the Steve Hawks of this industry with the 1% listing, and you have to go in confident enough to be able to sell whatever your commission rate is. Thank you.
Love that. Yep. Working a new market. Okay, Carlos, interesting. Working a new market. Tell me more about that while I read Gene's here, while I look at Gene's. What do you mean by that? I think Carlos is looking to figure out that unmute button.
Again, trouble with the mute. What I mean by that is I'm licensed in California, and I've recently expanded my business here to Nevada, and a little bit more difficult than I thought in running both states, but really growing and making things happen. So it's a completely new market in the sense of the area, but not a new market in the sense of that I've been licensed for, quite some time.
Got it. Okay, so you're new to Vegas, right? And so it's not as easy as you thought it was going to be just jumping into this market.
It's saturated agents everywhere.
Yeah. We have 16,000 of us little ants running around everywhere. Most of us don't have any training, right? Any formalized training on running this business, right? We get a license, which we assume means we can sell real estate. And oh man, it's a challenge out there learning the right things to do in this business.
It definitely is. There's so many brokerages that are 100% commission, but they don't take the time to teach you, the proper way.
Exactly. Yep. Gene says, newer to the business, 3 years, so not as many listings under my belt. Oh, okay, so the sellers can't find your track record online. Okay, so the idea that your track record is hidden or unfounded is a limiting belief. Love that one. And then, okay, and Justin said he's here now. Okay, thanks, Justin. Glad that you can make it with us. All right, so I think we've buckled up. We are in, and we got our mindset right. We know what's going on. You guys have been super transparent on what's holding you back, what you would like to take away from the class. I think I'm ready to move forward into our first subject here. I'm going to ask for one thing from everybody in this class moving forward for the next 3.5 weeks, and that's this here. So in order to get the most out of this experience, the last concept we're going to talk about from mindset is the fact that whenever I teach a class, I find that everybody in the class is going to fall into one of 3 buckets. So I'm going to have in my group the prisoner. So some of you might be the prisoner. Those are the people that have to be here. They don't want to be here, or they don't know why they're here. They just saw a name, saw an email, and decided to jump in. And so those types of people, I see them. They're not engaged. They're not hitting in the chat. They're not unmuting and talking. They probably have their camera off, hint, hint, right? And they're just kind of having us running in the background while they also have the new Greyhound movie on Apple TV playing. I don't know. But we see the prisoners time and again, right? They hang on to their limiting beliefs. They're not here to necessarily grow, but it just seemed like a cool and comfortable thing to do on the background. Then I have the vacationers, right? So this is a lot better and easier and more comfortable than being in the middle of lead generation, right? So they will spend as much time chatting with other people or doing the hidden chats in the Zoom group as they will listening. They are here to have fun. get away from the business, right? They will, we will do 5-minute breaks when I feel like we've had a little bit of an exhaustion in our conversations. They might not plug back in on time. They're not really purposeful with what they're looking to learn from these classes. They spend their day just texting, and I could see this happening in the background. So let's just be careful with those things. And they're not really paying attention as a result. So do me a favor, raise your hand if you are a prisoner or vacationer, or just drop a 1 in the group chat. Who here are my prisoners and vacationers? Drop a 1. Drop a 1. Drop a 1 in the chat. Okay. Where did all my participation go? So drop a 3 then if you're an explorer. So you are here because you're excited and curious about new knowledge, skills, and tools. You're going to be listening attentively. You're going to be participating. You're going to be asking meaningful questions. When you don't agree or you don't understand with something, you're going to hit that unmute button and you're going to challenge me, or you're going to ask me a question. You're going to share with me compelling ahas, like things that you're actually taking away. You're here for earning's sake, not learning's sake. You're going to be back from your breaks on time. You're going to be right here, right at 12, ready to rock and roll, okay? And you're going to be accepting of the fact that although not everything here might be 100% what you're doing or want to do, at the very least, you're going to acknowledge the fact that many of these are best practices that have built businesses. So again, I'm asking for you to drop a 1 if you're a prisoner or vacationer, and a 3 if you're an explorer. And I'll take a no response as a 1. Let's put that as well. All right, there we go. 2.5. Gene, I don't even want to ask you what that means, so we're just going to move on from that. Margene, I don't participate as much as yet because this is all new and I'm learning. Listen, when it's new, you're going to have questions, and I will say this, we have safe learning environments. You ask as many questions as you need to. The content itself will fill about an hour and a half of content, if not a little bit less. And I've allotted 2 hours. So if there are questions and I need to stick around and answer things at the end, I will stick around, okay? All right, let's start talking lead conversion. Let me get the right notes out here so that I can make sure I'm not missing anything. All right, guys, so this is going to be the first part of the model of the seller servicing cycle. It's going to be on what we call lead conversion, okay? In this topic, we are going to be discussing lead generation strategies. We're going to be discussing how to pre-qualify a lead. We're going to talk about the model of lead conversion. And I'm actually going to share with you some best practices, things like handling objections, closing techniques, things like that. So you're actually going to want to buckle up here, especially if you are finding challenges in getting to the table for a listing appointment. I will share with you some best practices, and hopefully you'll get some ahas to change your business there or increase your business if your name is Suzanne. So let's go ahead and start by talking about one best practice in particular, okay? The first best practice that I want to talk about is this, okay? We're going to talk about activities and how to generate leads and get people into your database and this and that. But the first thing I want to make sure everybody understands is the importance of a best practice known as tracking your numbers, okay? Top agents, what they do is they really understand their very specific numbers that will dictate their success and get them in the right mindset for their days when it comes to lead generating. As a result of them tracking their numbers, then they will be able to define what their conversion ratios are. So I'm gonna tell you what numbers you need to be tracking in your business today. Now, typically this is a point at which we'll do an activity, but for the sake of our conversation today, we're not gonna do an activity here. I just wanna tell you the numbers that you should be tracking in your business every day, okay? Here are those numbers that you need to be tracking. And I'm gonna tell you how to write this exactly as well, okay? Write the letter A, and then a dash. And next to the letter A, I want you to be put number of contacts per week. So obviously you'll be calculating that per day, but your overall goal is how many contacts per week. That's your letter A. Your letter B is gonna be how many leads do you generate per week? So within your contacts, there's a certain number of those that you generated into leads. That's the letter B. The letter C is going to be how many appointments per week. And the letter D is how many contracts signed per week. So again, every week, and as a result, every day, in order to get those numbers, you need to be tracking how many contacts how many contacts made, how many leads generated, how many appointments booked, and how many contracts signed. Here's the reason why. You want to be tracking 3 conversion ratios moving forward in your business. So now I want everybody to do this now. You wrote A, B, C, D, okay? And you defined what A, B, C, D is. Now what I want you to do below all of that, I want you to write the number 1. And the number 1 is going to be, and see, bear with me here, B divided by A. B divided by A. You see, when you wrote down B, B was how many leads you generated. A was how many contacts you made. This is what's called your contacts to leads conversion. You want to track how many contacts you need to make in order to generate a lead for your business. So that's created by B divided by A. Number 2, the second ratio that you need to be tracking, okay? Write C divided by B. C divided by B. You see what you're calculating there is your appointments booked divided by how many leads generated. That is your leads to appointments conversion ratio. So you want to know how many leads do I need to generate in order to know how many appointments I need to generate the number of appointments I want. Number 3 ratio, I want you to write down D divided by C. D divided by C. That's your contract signed divided by your appointments booked. So what that's telling you is your appointments booked to listing contracts conversion ratio. You see, when you track numbers like that as a best practice, like other top agents are doing, top agents that I'm coaching, we can now make your business as predictable as possible. Imagine if you knew in your heart of hearts, I only need to talk to 21 people a day in order to net the amount of income I want. How you do that for your business is by understanding the numbers you need to hit. The only way you understand the numbers you need to hit is by today making the decision that you're going to start tracking some very specific numbers for your business. Those are the numbers you need to track. Okay? Drop a 1 if you're going to start tracking those numbers today. Drop a 1 in the chat. Perfect. Drop a 1. Drop a 1. Great. Love that. Love it. I already see some listing machines are going to be generated as a result of this class. All right. I see some explorers also. Where are my vacationers and prisoners? You guys being quiet? All right. Tony likes that. All right. Okay. There we go. There are some ones. Start tracking those numbers today, ladies and gentlemen. Your business will thank you. I'll tell you one reason why. One of my favorite classes to teach, and you should probably book this in your calendar to reach out to me on November 1st to find out when this class is happening. One of my favorite classes to teach is the Business Planning Clinic. It's typically on the 2nd week of November. I teach that class to get all of the agents that have decided to go on a journey with me and have entrusted me with helping them with their business in some way or another, get a plan together for their business for the next year. This year's Business Planning Clinic will probably be the most important business planning clinic I've ever hosted in my life. Because of everything that COVID-19 has done to people's businesses, we need to make sure you get on track or back on track in 2021. But you can only have a powerful session when you've tracked those types of numbers. Don't worry if you haven't done it before, start tracking it now. You'll have 4 months of data by the time we're ready to rock and roll together. So November 1st, put in your calendar to reach out to me and say, Dan, when is that business planning clinic happening? I want to be there. All right, now let's start jumping into lead conversion. All right, so the first thing that we're going to talk about when it comes to lead conversion, here's the thing with this class, okay? The way this class was written was to talk about the fact that there are processes in place that follow lead generation. So I'm going to peel back the curtain here a minute for all of you and tell you guys that this class wants me to start our conversation right at lead conversion and assuming that all of you understand how to lead generate. Okay? I don't like that. I think that's a load of baloney. And so I want to make sure that at the very least, there's some value provided when it comes to lead generating, right? If you don't know how to lead generate, your business has no bloodline, okay? Now, also keep in mind though, this class is not meant to be a beginner's course, which is probably why they skip over lead generation. But I'm just going to go over a few things briefly with you so that hopefully you could take 1 or 2 tools away to start improving your lead generation in your business. The reason why this graph is here is because it tells you that all of your problems in your business are going to be boiled down to one of the 3 L's. It's either going to be dealing with leads, listings, or leverage, okay? For most of us in this business that have either just started off, your problem is actually going to start with the first L, which is leads. And I'll tell you how you know you have a leads problem. You have a leads problem when you look at your pipeline. And when you map out your entire pipeline, you measure it against your goals, and you can say to yourself, crap, my pipeline will not help me hit my goals. I'm still falling short. When that is your issue, you have a leads problem and you need to buckle up and get into lead generation. Go solve your leads problem. When you have more leads than what your goals were looking for, great. You've solved your first L, and now it's time to start talking about your second problem, which is then your listings, right? So when you're dealing with leads, I don't care if it's buyers or sellers, collect all the leads you can, and let's make sure you're hitting your goals. At a certain point, though, we need to start focusing on listings-based activity. You see, when you focus on buyers-based business, you're going to get buyers. When you focus on listings-based business, you're going to get listings and buyers. Stew on that for a minute and you'll understand what I mean by that. But we want you to focus on listings after you've figured out your leads problem. You see, when you've taken enough listings, though, that gives you your time back. But then there's going to be a ceiling of achievement on your business because there's only so many deals you could take in a year. So that's where you need to start looking at what leverage can you bring into your organization so you could do more deals. Leverage does not just mean people. It means systems and tools and technology, especially in today's world. When you can't fill 3 hours a day with revenue generating activities calls. Got it. Yeah, that's one way of understanding you have a leads problem. Okay. So let's just have a quick conversation on lead generation. The first thing here, this is a little bit of a gift for everybody. Why is it a gift? Because it's from my business planning clinic, at least from last year. It might be updated for this year. This is a slide that's going to show you, I believe it's up to now 51 or 41 different activities for generating leads, okay? So when it comes to lead generation for your business, know that your activities are going to fall into one of 2 buckets. You're going to have your prospecting activities and you're going to have your marketing activities, okay? Prospecting is all about going and having conversations with people, whether it's over the phone or face-to-face. The key here is that you're having 2-way dialogue with people, right? You're putting yourself in a position for failure. You're putting yourself in a position to sound dumb and fall on your face, but you're also putting yourself in a position to find business now. That's why we love prospecting. See, the problem with marketing is you're going to put all kinds of things out there, but you don't know when and where that business is going to come. But the great thing about it is you can do that. You can leverage your time by marketing to a mass audience and hopefully have business pouring in. I use the word hopefully very strategically there. Okay, so we want to make sure that 1, your business has both buckets being used. So a great business is going to be having a collection of prospecting activities and a collection of marketing strategies. Here's the caveat though. It should be prospecting based and marketing enhanced. For my Keller Williams people, you've heard that before. Prospecting based and marketing enhanced lead generation strategy. Until you've nailed your prospecting strategies, you don't focus too much time and attention on what you're doing in marketing. You will run out of time and you will run out of money. So let's make sure your prospecting is nailed down pat. Okay. What else when it comes to lead generation strategies? What I'll tell you is with COVID-19 introducing its ugly head into our market, it's taken away a lot of event-based strategies, right? So for those of you that have done in-person seminars, events, open houses, yes, it's posed a challenge for you. And it's probably made it difficult for you to have other certain face-to-face interactions. But no worries there. Telemarketing has always been and continues to be one of the most efficient and powerful ways of generating leads. Okay, we're going to go into some telemarketing best practices in just a moment, but I just want to acknowledge that we're going to have that conversation here in a moment. Okay, let me see if I do want to talk about any strategies now. No, I'm not going to go into all that stuff. So we're going to talk about more lead generation in a minute here. As you're lead generating there, though, here's the first thing that I want you guys to be thinking about is, are you pre-qualifying your leads? Okay, so you're in dialogue with a person. Pre-qualifying doesn't mean you find the individual, you get in a relationship with them, then you put them in your database, and then at a separate time and place, you pre-qualify them. No, your very first conversation, you should be asking yourself 3 questions. Is this person ready? Meaning, are they ready and motivated to make their decisions now? Are they ready? Are they willing to take action now? And are they able, meaning are they financially able to go through with the transaction? Okay, you need to be pre-qualifying your leads, particularly your listing leads, right from the first conversation. Now, here's the reason why, okay? Some of you are brand new in the business. Others of you have a goal of selling 100 to 150 transactions a year. I know this because I'm seeing some of the names in this room right now, okay? When you're pre-qualifying your leads, here's the thing to keep in mind. Why you do it is so that you could determine, who am I going to get face-to-face with? Okay? Some of you are going to want to get face-to-face with as many leads as possible. And so your pre-qualification is going to be pretty easy. Do they have a heartbeat? And sure, they're maybe ready, maybe willing, and maybe able. But at the end of the day, getting face-to-face means cementing the relationship. I'm going and I'm meeting with them. So for others of you, though, time is of the essence. You don't have the ability to just make that decision to get face-to-face with everybody, at least not at the start. And so your pre-qualification is going to be a little bit more in depth. The number one thing you're probably going to be digging into is their timeline, right? Is their timeline and motivation. So I'm going to give you some best practices when pre-qualifying your leads on what you should be doing with them, okay? So when I pre-qualify a listing lead, the first thing that I want to understand is, what is their motivation and timeline? Because that's going to help me determine who I want to be meeting with. Now, if I find that they are ready, that I can get an appointment with them because they're ready at any point in the next 12 months, great. I'm going to secure that appointment right away, simply because I want to be their real estate agent of choice. You're going to find out why in a moment here. But nonetheless, some people, they're not going to want to set an appointment. So I still need to understand their timeline. Okay. Here's what I want you all to understand. And it looks like there's a hungum. I don't know what's going on there, Tony. When they're not ready yet, I still want to understand their timeline. And here's the reason why. Because when I understand their timeline, I'm going to put them in my database and I'm going to put them on a very specific strategy. Okay. So here's what I want you to be taking note of. For those listing leads that are ready anytime in between the next 0 to 90 days. Now, this is my strategy. So for those of you who don't have one, you could employ this today. For those of you that do have a strategy, measure it up against yours and take the best practices that work, throw away the ones that don't. Okay. When I'm pre-qualifying my listing leads, I'm looking for hots, nurtures, or watches. My hots are those that are ready anytime in the next 0 to 90 days. We're going to dig deeper in the hots in just a second here, so hang on for a second. But nonetheless, there are 0 to 90 days for my hots. My nurtures are those that are ready in the next 3 to 12 months. The nurtures that are ready in the next 3 to 12 months, I'm talking with them on a monthly basis. 12 months and beyond, those are my watches. Those are people that they're not quite ready. They're going to be a far ways out. I'm going to be talking with them, but on a quarterly basis. Okay? They're still a ways out. So my hots, 0 to 90 days. We're going to get into what's the touch plan for them. My nurtures are 3 months to 12 months. They're going to be on a monthly touch. And then my 12 months and beyond, I'm going to talk to them once a quarter. Okay, so now let's dig into the hots a little bit more. The hots, I'm going to break them down into A, B, and C. Write down A, B, and C. All right. Your A's are those that are ready in 0 to 14 days to get going. 0 to 14 days, they're ready to get going on their listing. Your 0 to 14 days, those A's, you should be talking with them daily, looking to get to the table with them. Days 15 to 60, days 15 to 60, those are our B leads that are hot. I'm going to give you a range here. Every 3 to 5 days, you should be talking with those individuals. Every 3 to 5 days, you should be talking with them. Again, the intention is get to the table. Your 61 to 90 days, those are your C leads. You should be talking with them every week. So pick a day of the week, that day of the week, every week, you're calling them. So daily, 3 to 5 days, or weekly within your hots.
Hey, Daniel, I have a question for you.
Yes.
When you say touch base with them, like 0 to 14, that would be every day. But like on the 61 and 90 weekly, are you talking about pick up the phone and have a conversation with them, or touch base with them in some way? Like
pick up the phone and have a conversation. No, and so here's the deal. When we pre-qualify those individuals, we're definitely looking for people that are in the 0 to 90 days. That's the biggest thing. For those of you that are brand new, even still, you want to find those 90 days and have a very dialed in plan for those that are ready in the next 90 days. But there needs to be an actual conversation with them based on that frequency I just determined. So now let me pause really quickly and tell you something here, okay? I'm telling you this because this is the first thing that you should be building as a result of this class. You see, you're going to learn how to generate listing leads, get them in your database. But when you generate leads, are they going in a dumpster or are they going in a gold mine? You want them to go in a gold mine, and how you set up that gold mine is by setting up these types of touch plans, right? So do you have a plan in place to where 0 to 14 day leads, you're talking to them every day? Do you have a system in place to where you're being reminded to talk to your B leads 3 to 5 days and your C leads every week? Get that nailed down first, and then all the other plans you can start working on. But if you don't have that, you have your people going into a dumpster, and to some of my agents that I'm coaching's point, you're going to feel the pain of missing out on thousands of dollars in commission because you didn't have a touch plan in place. So let me pause there because that's my first kind of best practice I wanted to share with all of you. What questions or thoughts are you having there? Any questions or thoughts? Okay.
Sorry, I think you're pretty spot on, so it's not really a question, but I think it's a perfect balance of communicating and not communicating too much, but also enough. So thank you.
Yeah, and thank you, Edie. I think what happens, and the reason why I'm having this conversation with all of you, is because one, we have such an almost exhausting conversation. Drop a 1 if you've been exhausted around everybody telling you lead generate, lead generate, lead generate, and that's almost the extent of the conversation in real estate. Drop a 1 if that's been your conversation, right? And my concern with those that come in this business is you learn and you talk so much about lead generation that you lead generate people and you put them into a messy situation that absolutely wreaks havoc on your business. There's no rhyme or reason to what happens once you found that lead. What we're talking about here is get really intentional about what you're doing when you lead generate. Pre-qualify these leads, right? Are they ready, willing, and able? And once you've defined that, what's the plan, right? That's what we're talking about here right now. Perfect. Great insight. Text and email marketing to the hot lead prospects. Love that, Sonny, right? So hit them multiple ways. And here would be my other big thing with your hot leads. For the love of whatever you believe in, do not just make this hey, you ready to list? Hey, you ready to list? Come with value, right? I'll tell you one best practice. I would go on the national realestatepost.com. I would go on housingwire.com. I would go on the housing section of CNBC. I would go on the newsroom section of nar.realtor. So again, the nationalrealestatepost.com, housingwire.com, housing section of cnbc.com, the newsroom section of nar.realtor. And I would look for articles, look for content, right? Information that when I pick up that phone, I first come off with educating. Hey, here's what I'm seeing in the market right now and why I thought of you when I read this. So by the way, since I have you and I just shared that information, where are we at with listing your home? Right? Come with value. Don't just say, hey, you ready? All right, any questions there? Okay, here's your lead conversion model. Here's what we're gonna be talking about as the subject for the remainder of our class, okay? For the next 30 minutes, we're gonna break down this model here, okay? So you're going to capture your individuals, your leads, you're gonna capture them, and your main goal is to connect. Capture and connect. We're gonna have a pretty in-depth conversation around capturing and connecting. The ultimate goal as you're capturing and connecting individuals is to close and get to an appointment. Some individuals aren't gonna be ready for that, so you will have to cultivate them. What we just discussed was cultivate. So what we're about to get into are steps 1, 2, and 3, okay? And that's right, Edie, you can only say checking in on you so many times. Come with value is right, absolutely. So we just talked about cultivate, have that cultivate strategy in place, okay? Now let's jump into some of these things here. When you get on a conversation and you lead generate with people, there are 3 goals that I think about every agent should be having in mind. When you lead generate, there's 3 goals. 1 is to get an appointment. 2 is to get a referral. 1 is to get an appointment. 2 is to get a referral. This is what's going to feed your business and give you the bloodline you're looking for. Now, another mistake that most agents make. If I don't get an appointment, if I don't get a referral, I shut off the phone. Drop a 1 if that describes you. If I don't get an appointment, I don't get a referral, I hang up or I walk away. Drop a 1. Be honest if that describes you. How many of you walk away from a lead or at least the prospecting conversation if you don't get an appointment and you don't get a referral? Love it. Okay. Here's the reason why. We still want to strengthen or at least forge some form of relationship with these individuals. Let me give you one really cool best practice that that's worked for me and will work for you. So when you talk to an individual, Tony, can you unmute yourself and be one of my partners in this conversation here, Tony?
Me?
Yeah, Tony, you ready?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so the first thing that I'm going to ask you is for an appointment, right? A very easy script. All my Keller Williams people know my script, right? Guys, it's very simple and straightforward. Hey, Tony, this is Daniel Mahabir, and I work real estate in your area. Have you by any chance thought about making a move in the near future?
Actually, we have been talking about it and thinking about it.
We
think we're ways out, but we are thinking about it.
Perfect. Pause, break script. What do most people tell you when you ask that question? They tell you, no, I'm not thinking about making a move, right? 95% of the people are going to tell you that. So let me show you what you need to say to those individuals. You need to tell them, and Tony, just tell me no. Have you by any chance thought about making a move in the near future, Tony?
Not at this time, no.
Not at this time. Well, just a shot in the dark. If you did make a move, where do you think you're moving to next?
I don't think I want to move. I like living here.
You like living there. Okay, great. So pause, break script, just a shot in the dark, right? I love that phrase. My Keller Williams people, they're probably putting a gun to their head and saying, oh my God, you're going through this script again. There's a lot of people that aren't familiar with this here. Just a shot in the dark is one of the best phrases that you could use in sales, right? It removes commitment. It breaks down the walls and it gets them, okay, I guess I could imagine with this weirdo. So get used to saying that phrase. Hey, just a shot in the dark. If you were to make a move, where do you think you'd move to? Tony said, I wouldn't be thinking about making a move anywhere else. I like where I'm at. Okay, great, Tony. So the next thing that we want to talk about is motivation here. So Tony, it sounds like you like where you're at. What would cause you to move in the future if you did make a move?
If my finances change and I had to downsize.
If your finances change and you had to downsize.
If my finances change and I had to downsize, yes.
Gotcha. Now we could go in depth in that part of the conversation. By the way, write this down. Park in motivation. Park in motivation. You see, motivation brings out the emotion in the conversation with your prospects. You want to be having an emotional conversation with your prospects, not a logical one. Logic makes people think, emotions make people act. Tony, do we want our prospects to be thinking or acting?
Acting.
We want our people to be acting. And so then do we talk about logic or do we talk about emotions?
Emotions.
Emotions. Motivation gets the emotion out. So park there and flesh that out, right? He talked about his financial situation changing. So you might ask things like, okay, well, tell me more about that financial change. What would cause a financial change? You don't have to answer that right now, but park there.
Okay.
This is where the majority of our conversation will likely take place. After Tony has fleshed out his motivation with me, there's one more thing I want to understand of Tony, which is this. Tony, okay, so you talk about you might be a ways out. In this hypothetical situation, ideally, when would you be making this move?
I would say 3 to 5 years.
Okay, there's a key reason why Tony gave me a time frame, break script. It's because I used one word and one word only. All my Keller Williams people, what was the word that I used when I asked about timeline? Boom, Tori, you dropped it. By the way, Tori's only been in the business a few months and she's already killing it. Ideally, right? You see, when you ask people straight up, hey, so when are you going to be buying a house? When are you going to be selling a house? They retreat. Walls come up. You're asking them to commit to something. Use the word ideally. And again, it does that same thing just like Shot in the Dark does. Breaks down those walls and gets them to imagine. Write down that word and get used to it, ideally. All right. So 3 to 5 months. Hey, Tony, here's the great news. I plan on being in real estate in the next 3 to 5 months. Let's do this. I want to meet with you for 15 minutes because I want to understand a little bit more around what's the game plan here and make sure you and I are on the same page come those 3 to 5 months from now. So we're going to meet. Would this weekend work for you or would next weekend work better for you? Pause and break script. You're going to go for the close of the script. Okay. Mm-hmm. This is something that we all have to practice on. I'm going to give you some closing techniques. So just bear with me when it comes to the closing section. Now we talked about some things here, which is that one, we want to get an appointment. That's what I'm looking for with Tony. If Tony, regardless of what happens with that part of the conversation, then I'm going to say, hey, Tony, you know what? I really appreciate this conversation. While I have you, who do you know that's thought about buying or selling a house I could help today? Right? Now, Tony can give me some. All right? That's how you ask for a referral. Many times, they're going to tell you, I don't know anybody, but I'll keep you in mind. Sometimes you might have them tell you somebody, and they'll say, you know what, I have a really great pair of friends named Edie and Ralph that are talking about it, but I don't know what's going on with them. So naturally, you're going to want to say, hey, you know what? That sounds awesome. I'm looking forward to helping Edie and Ralph. What is the best number I can call Edie and Ralph today? And what's Tony going to tell me?
I'm going to give you the phone number.
Are most people going to give somebody else's phone number to you?
No,
right?
They're going to tell you, well, I'll get in touch with them. I'll let you know.
Okay, that's exactly what you're going to hear. Drop a 1 if that's what you get whenever you're talking.
Yes.
All right, drop a 1. Okay, good. Drop a 1 if that's the response you get. Yeah. You know what? I'm going to talk to them first and I'll get back to you. I'm going to tell you just a technique. This is an objection handler for this. It doesn't work 100% of the time, but it does work 3% of the time, and 3% is better than 0. So here's the 3% technique, okay? Hey, you know what, Tony? I can totally appreciate that. If I was your friend as well, I might feel weird about you giving my number out. Here's what I don't want to have happen, Tony, though, is I don't want you to have to spend time playing a little bit of monkey in the middle, where you're going to that person, asking them a question, then coming back to me and giving me the information, then going back to them and circling back. Let's do this. I'm going to take down their phone number now, and I'm just going to put it aside. I'm going to wait for you to text me a thumbs up today because you spoke with them and made sure it was okay to give me their number. If I don't hear from you today at all, I'm just going to give you a call to check in and see if it was okay. And if at that point you haven't given me permission, I'm going to throw their number away. But if you do give me permission, then I'm going to take care of them, and I'm going to make you look real good, Tony. So what's that number I can reach them at when you text me back?
Oh, okay. I like that. Yeah.
One way of doing that. Now, the last way, okay, because sometimes people don't want to give you an appointment. Sometimes people don't want to give you a referral. So the last thing we want to do is strengthen the relationship. Let me tell you how to do this. So Tony, again, I really appreciate the conversation. It sounds like you're good where you're at. Sounds like you don't know anybody at this time. I'm curious, who is keeping you up to date on the real estate market at this time?
Actually, I haven't been. I've just been sitting still.
Actually, I haven't. Okay. Well, I'll tell you what, I'm going to do everything I can to earn the right of being your real estate agent and keeping you up to date. I'm going to start by ... Pick whatever that action item is. But let's go back to how I'm strengthening the relationship. I asked a very particular question. The question I did not ask was, hey, Tony, do you have a real estate agent? You don't ask that question. Why? Because the general public and all of us can agree, we are used to shutting down salespeople. Anything that we could say or do to shut down a salesperson, such as a closed-ended question that's responded with a yes or no, we're going to jump straight to the response that can shut this person up. So you ask, and write this down, who is keeping you up to date on the real estate market at this time? Okay. That will set you up to then strengthen the relationship, send a note card, and or get them on your touch plans. Okay. But that's the key here. Is with lead conversion, get appointment, get a referral, or strengthen the relationship. Ladies and gentlemen, I want to keep you, Tony, thank you so much, man. I really appreciate you.
Oh, no, my pleasure. Thank you.
Thank you. Here's the key here, everyone. When you are lead generating, we talk about the importance is to get an appointment. And this comes back to the reason why I'm telling you, although we want to be particular with who we're being face-to-face with, especially based on the number of deals you're doing, your key item is to be the first to the table. You know, Gary Keller says this. That is 99% of the battle, is getting to the table first or second. If you don't believe me, look at NAR. The National Association of Realtors releases this report every year, and I would recommend all of you go to nar.realtor and go to the Realtor store and download the 2019 profile of home buyers and sellers. It gives you such great information to understand the mindset of buyers and sellers. This right here tells you how many agents did the seller contact or sit down with prior to listing their home. What did 90% of sellers do? 90% of the sellers out there spoke with one or two listing agents. That's right, Justin. That's the majority of the battle. Stop thinking about building the best presentation. Stop thinking about, oh my gosh, I got to go and buy lock boxes and design my website and create social media. And I got to be perfect at my appointments and all this other stuff. Everyone, there's a secret sauce to today's conversation. It's this very slide here. Just get really good at getting to the table. If you do that, you've won 90% of the battle. And if you don't believe me, look at what the surveyors of the profile of home buyers and sellers said just last year. You do that, you got most of it done. And we're just going to show you some really cool techniques to take care of your pre-listing, to take care of your listing consultations, to your offers and negotiations, so on and so forth. But this is 90% of the battle. Okay? Now, okay, get your pencil sharpened, or get your Apple Pencil tip changed out. I don't know. Now I'm going to vomit at you guys a few things here, because capturing is all about finding the leads, getting their information, and talking about techniques that work. Okay. So this is where I'm going to go into lead generation a bit more. All right. I just wrote down some of my favorite strategies and best practices. So some of you might be familiar with some of them might be brand new to you. Write down whatever you feel compelled to do. Okay. So here I go. I'm just going to, and again, it's just going to be throwing things and seeing what sticks to you. Okay. There's no rhyme or reason to some of these best practices. First thing I want to talk about, be, do, achieve. In this class, I'm going to talk to you about a lot of things to do. Okay. You all have goals and what you want to achieve. I'm going to show you some things to do. You're probably going to go sign up with some other classes with some other great listing agents, and they're going to tell you other things to do. Know this, number one, with everything I do and with all the success at the end of the day, there's still a good chance you won't emulate my success, the success of Suzanne, Edie, and Ralph, or other great listing agents in this room. Why? Because do is only part of the battle. The bigger part of the battle is be and the version of who you are. So what version of you shows up? Who are you, or who do you need to be in order to actually achieve the results you're looking for? right? We all want to talk about, well, what do I need to do for lead generation? What do I need to do for conversion and transaction management and so on and so forth to get the number of sales I'm looking for? Ladies and gentlemen, it doesn't start there. When you want to achieve, let's say 30 units a year, which is a solid goal for anybody who's in the business longer than 2 years, don't start talking about what you need to do first. Who do you need to be in order to sell 30 units a year? Maybe a great time manager, somebody who's addicted to lead generation, somebody who's a great database manager who understands their pipeline and how to move people in their pipeline, right? Be, do, achieve. So take all of these trainings with a grain of salt, because many of the trainings talk about do and not enough about be. We talked about scripts practice. Just remember, scripts practice and role play is one of the top 5 things you should be doing in this business. I don't care how your results are. You need to be honing in on your dialogue. You don't want to sound robotic anymore? Well, you start by sounding robotic. Internalize the conversations first. Okay? When it comes to lead generation, don't wait until your pipeline is dried up to begin, because then you're risking this really stinky stench from your mouth called commission breath. So if you want to avoid that, start lead generating today. Get into action now. And when you actually fill up your pipeline, don't stop lead generating. Keep that activity going. Drop a 1 if you would describe your business as a roller coaster business. Right? Drop a 1 if you've had business up and then, oh my God, and there's no business, and then, oh my God, there is business. And yeah, all of you that are dropping a 1, it's because when you have business, when you have clients, when you have escrows, I'm going to make a guess like Miss Cleo would, that you are not lead generating when you have clients. I'm just going to make a strong guess there. Right? Need to not sell scared. Exactly. How you not sell scared is by always filling up that pipeline. Yeah, Miss Cleo. I actually just watched the documentary on Walter Mercado as well. So I don't know. Pick whichever one. Mucho beso, amor. Yeah. Let's see. What else did I put here? When it comes to cold calling, okay? So this is where I'm going to talk to you guys a little bit about cold calling. The first thing is the mindset that holds us back is that we don't want to cold call. We either have a fear of rejection or a fear of failure. I will tell you the real main reason why we all tend to stop with cold calling or don't do it is because we're concerned about the interruption of somebody's day. And I will tell you, yes, you're doing that, and just move on. You are interrupting somebody's day. And so as a result, that should actually tweak the way that you are prospecting if you decide to telemarket. Stop thinking of a super elaborate script. Oh my gosh, what does Kevin Ward say? What does Brian Casella say? What does Mike Ferry say? Tom Ferry say? Calm down and just know that you need to answer one question when you are on the phone or in front of a prospect. When you are talking to somebody and you give off that smell that you're a salesperson, which let's just face it, we all are salespeople, there's one question that comes into the general public's mind. What do you want? You need to answer that question as quickly as you can. And so as a result, I get straight to the point with my scripts. My name is Dan. I work real estate in the area. Have you thought about making a move? Okay. Just answer the question. Why are you in front of me? Now, what mistakes I hear most people make when they prospect and when they're in the capturing or connecting stage, they start to ask things like, hey, this is Daniel. And with everything going on in COVID-19, I'm just wondering first, how are you? I'm going to give you my opinion, which some of you may or may not agree with. Don't do that. Stop asking people, how are you? At the very least, don't ask that at the very beginning. Okay? My opinion, it's a weird thing to do with a stranger at the very beginning. I understand where your heart is at. You want to sympathize or empathize with people during this really hard time, but you got to keep in mind, you are calling as a salesperson, and naturally, people are wondering, what do you want? Just imagine walking down the street and somebody comes up to you out of nowhere and says, hey, how are you doing? As much as you're probably going to respond politely, I'm okay, you're not wondering in your mind, man, that was a really nice person. Thank you, Tony, for asking me that. No, you're wondering, what did you want? So get to your script, answer why that you're talking to them, and then towards the end of your conversation, ask, hey, by the way, I know some crazy stuff going on. How are you doing? Right? I know so the 3 Ps that hold people back when it comes to prospecting: procrastination, perfection, or paralysis from analysis. For those who procrastinate, just do it. For those who are worried about perfectionism, just do it. Paralysis or analysis, you're thinking about all the other ways it can go wrong, just do it. Okay? If any of you ever go to a pool with me, so Christina, you're saying yours is paralysis from analysis. Gene, you have that disease of paralysis from analysis. Yeah, I get it. And as hard as it is to say this, what kind of shoes do you wear? Yeah, I wear Nikes. That's hilarious, Justin. For those of you that have ever gone to a pool with me, you will understand that it is very frustrating. You see, for those of you that can't see below my neck, I'm a pretty skinny individual. And so as a result, when I go into a pool, it's like walking into an ice bath. I don't care how warm that thing is. And so I will sit there for 20 to 30 minutes, just knee high in the water, and everybody's telling me, jump in, jump in, jump in, it's gonna be okay. And no matter what, I still just sit there. And you know how I get comfortable with the pool? When I just jump in, okay? And then guess what's the first thing that runs through my mind when I finally jump in the pool? Tony, what's the first thing that comes through my mind when I finally jump in that pool? It's so cold. Yeah, not quite. I'll tell you, maybe
wasn't that bad.
It wasn't that bad, right, Alicia? It wasn't so bad after all. That is what lead generation is like. Alicia, please unmute yourself one more time.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, just gonna put you on the spot if that's okay for a quick second here. Just
sure.
Conversation. So you are somebody who's just started prospecting, right? And maybe, just maybe, you were dealing with some of the limiting beliefs or one of the 3 Ps, whether it's procrastination, perfectionism, or paralysis from analysis, prior to jumping into prospecting. Is that fair to say?
Yes.
So you've
I was
jumped
dealing with all of them.
Okay, all of them. You've jumped in the pool. Talk to us really briefly. What's been your experience?
Oh my goodness. So today was my second day cold calling, and like you said, it wasn't that bad. I've gotten 2 leads today. The calls went great, and I realized it was my own fears that was just holding me back. So, as you talked about earlier, just practicing those scripts, and it's like the more you do it, the easier it gets, pretty much.
Bingo, exactly.
And you become more comfortable with the conversations, because I think that's what my biggest thing was, just talking to people. But it gets easier, definitely.
It does, right? Michael Phelps isn't nervous about jumping into a pool every time now, right? He just kept doing it. And that's the same thing here, right? If you want that level of comfort. Couple other things. And I'm saying cold calling specifically, telemarketing techniques, because right now with everything going on in COVID, I know that's kind of the primary strategy for most of you. So if you want to talk offline about your own unique strategy for lead generating, I would recommend that you go to Meet Mahabir, book a 30-minute session, 15-minute session, and we could dig in the way that we're digging in with prospecting, okay? So meetmahabir.com. All right, some other things with dialing now. Get to the point, be clear and concise. Have a mirror in front of you to remind yourself to smile at all times. That frowny brown thing, it looks ugly. You will be reminded of it when you have a mirror in front of you. People can feel the smiling and dialing on the other end of the phone when you do that. Don't have Netflix, internet, or email up, right? Take quick notes in between your calls, but don't slow down and have to log everything into your database when you're prospecting, right? Just take your notes and then save that 30 minutes after you're done prospecting to then manage your database and get everybody in there. Have a bunker, right? A place where there are no pets, no kids allowed, especially with right now, many of you are working from home. Do you have a bunker that nobody can go into? If the answer is no, that needs fixing right away. I put here, remove the, that should not be an O. Remove the ding. Yeah, remove the ding. What I mean by remove the ding is that phone notification is one of the worst things that happens to prospectors. And we should all be turning our phones to do not disturb so that we were just focused on muscling through 2 hours of lead generation, okay? When you're lead generating, what I want everybody to write down, for those of you in KW that have been coached by me, you will know this already, but for those of you that haven't, write down this word, motivate, M-O-T-I-V-A-T-E. Go ahead and write down that word, motivate. M-O-T-I-V-A-T-E. Roselle, are you on this call and can you unmute yourself? Roselle?
I do.
Roselle, I just had everybody write motivate, M-O-T-I-V-A-T-E. What are they about to do?
Trying to convince people to buy.
Yeah, so what should everybody do with that word on their piece of paper they just wrote down?
Cross out the last three and change it with an AID.
Oh, man, it's almost like you are a legend at this stuff. Okay, what Roselle just told everyone to do is to take out the ATE in motivate and write AID. You see, when you prospect, one of the easiest ways you could turn off a prospect is by trying to motivate them to buy or sell. In this case, motivating them to list their house. Oh my gosh, interest rates have been great, so there's never been more buyers, right? Oh my gosh, there are no listings in the market, so you could sell your home for top dollar. The minute you start talking about those things or market conditions, realize one thing: you have just started to try motivating somebody, and all you're doing is turning that person off. You see, we don't motivate people by telling them. Telling doesn't sell. We aid them in their motivation by the questions we ask. Get really good at asking questions about somebody's motivation. The minute you start talking market stats, you start talking interest rates, and I know it because I hear it all the time and I get why we do it. Save those items for the appointment. In a prospecting conversation that should take no longer than 5 minutes, you should not be getting yourself in a whirlwind of trying to motivate somebody to list the house. Okay? Now, capture techniques that work, because capturing is all about getting their information and making sure that they are a pre-qualified lead. I want everybody to write this word. The word because. Okay? One of my favorite books of all time taught me this. This is the power of the word because. You see, because is all about going for an appointment. One of my favorite books, Fanatical Prospecting. Drop a 1 if you've heard of that book before. Drop a 1 in the chat. Fanatical Prospecting. For those of you who've never heard of that book, Fanatical Prospecting was written by Jeb Blunt, B-L-O-U-N-T. One of my favorite books, and everyone should be reading that book. I'm assuming if you're jotting down a bunch of notes right now, it's because you're looking to improve your lead generation game. That book will single-handedly make you a monster. You know, one of the techniques it talks about is using the word because. So when you're talking about, hey, let's meet, okay, use the word because people actually react to reasoning. So let's meet because I would like to talk to you about a plan for making a move. The analogy here would be, if I'm to ask my coworkers, can I use your printer? Many individuals will say yes. There will still be a chunk that might say no, because there isn't a rhyme or reason for using their printer. We have a big printer in this office. When I say, hey, can I use your printer because I'm in a rush and I actually have to get to an appointment right now, more people will actually say yes to it. Use the word because when it comes to setting your appointments. Okay, a couple other things here that I mentioned. Social selling. So using social media for selling, it does work, but just keep this in mind. And I will throw this challenge out to anybody. If anybody would like to do a week-long challenge, I will prospect for 1 week over the phones, and you would want to do your social media lead generation for a week. I can guarantee you your prospecting techniques will generate more business for you than your social media techniques. So this doesn't mean to not use social media. Let's just make sure you're nailing your prospecting, such as the cold calling right now. Edie, it looked like you had unmuted yourself. Did you have something to share?
When you were talking about the because and you used the example, I was going to ask you to use that as an example for real estate. Like you talked about the printer. So how would you, can you give me an example of how you would use that to set an appointment? 1,000,000%,
right? So first off, and actually, I'm super glad you're asking this, because here's the here's the one of the big things that I think agents going into lead generation don't really have a clear idea of. So everybody's telling me my number one goal when I lead generate is to set the appointment. Okay, I'm gonna go set the appointment. And yet they don't understand why they're setting the appointment. Ask yourself this question: why are you looking to set an appointment with an individual? I will tell you my reasoning. My reasoning for setting an appointment with my sellers is because I've seen far too many sellers go into listing their home without a plan, without a game plan. There needs to be a game plan, from staging the home to marketing to once we actually start showings, especially in today's market. When we start showings, what does that look like to make it as safe as possible for everyone involved? So I know that my because, let's meet because we need to talk about a game plan for listing your home. It's as simple as that. Have your reasoning for setting the appointment, and that's your because. The only other thing I would say with opportunities with seller leads is, yes, your greatest opportunities will be for sale by owners and expireds. Those will be your lowest hanging fruit because those are literally people that are saying, I'm thinking about selling my home. I would say just hone your skill set. A couple skill sets there that I would say to get really good at is one thing called frame control. So know that many of your for sale by owner and expired prospects, they're going to come at you with a rather aggressive frame. If you don't know about frame control, read the book Pitch Anything, one of my favorite sales books, Pitch Anything. And so with for sale by owners and expireds, you want to be able to actually break other people's frames, other for sale by owners and expireds frames, by being more aggressive, right? So I could tell you about some of those techniques. One of my favorite techniques is to use a little bit of defiance with a little bit of humor. So when you call and you talk to an expired, they're probably going to want to cuss you out right off the bat or say you're the 1,000th agent that's called them. So we use a little bit of defiance and a little bit of humor. You see, most agents, they're used to, when they say that, will hang up and be like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. You're going to be defiant. What you're going to say is, hey, you know what? It sounds like you're probably getting a lot of calls from us sharks in the water, and you've just let out a little bit of blood. Is that right? See, you're not getting off the phone with them, and you're using a little bit of humor. Use that with your for sale by owners and expires. I would say tip number 2 would be to get really good at empathizing. So start your calls off with expires and for sale by owners by saying, literally start your script with, hey, my name is Daniel. I work in real estate, and I'm assuming you're getting a lot of calls from other real estate agents. Is that right? It's going to show those types of prospects that you're a professional and you know exactly what they're going through. Even with that level of empathy, they'll then be able to engage with you. All right. I know that was a lot. What questions do you guys have about capture? Are there any questions there? All right. Hopefully that was helpful. All right. Let's talk about connecting. I'm going to talk about 2 things really quickly here with connecting. We're going to talk about something called behavioral or communication styles, and then we're going to talk about the actual pre-qualification when you're connecting with an individual. So the first thing is these behavioral or communication styles. When you're talking with an individual, you have to understand that you and that person has what's called a communication style, which is a way you like to communicate and be communicated with. So there are 4 types of communication styles that I believe every person has. You're going to find those directors. So those are the people who like to be straight to the point. They don't like a lot of information. Would you just tell me what I need to know so I can make a decision as fast as I can? You're going to have socializers, which are those individuals that want to hear stories left and right and will probably be big talkers. You're going to have thinkers who probably want to sit back and think about all the information. And so as a result, they're not going to be talking with you much. And they also don't want to be sharing too many details. The relators will also sit back and not be very communicative, but they are going to want to get deep with you and understand who you are. You see, if you've ever been in a conversation with an individual and you felt like, man, things are really funky and this doesn't feel right, there's likely a very good chance it's because you came in with a particular communication style that does not match up with the other person's communication style. You came in because naturally you are a director, you get straight to the point, but you are talking to a socializer who likes stories and fluff, And as a result, you just turn that person off. So the first thing that we need to do is I'm going to send everybody a graph that breaks down the different communication styles and helps you think about what is this person's communication style, and thus how do I need to react. So a thinker and relator, Christina, because you dropped that question there. What is a thinker and the relator? Both of these individuals, okay, so if you think about directors and socializers, they are going to be the talkers, whereas the thinkers and relators are going to be the quiet ones. But see, the difference between the thinkers and relators, the thinkers, when you ask them a question, they're not going to have very many responses. They just want to think and consume. They're also going to be highly analytical. The relators, they're not going to be super analytical. They're just going to look for you to be looking for things in common with them. So when it comes to talking with the relator, you actually want to identify, okay, this person is quiet, so I know they're either a thinker or a relator. I need to find out if they like when we find things in common or not. So when I see something around the property, or when I'm talking with them and they share with me a personal fact, I'm going to connect with them on that. I'm going to see if that actually strengthened the connection or drove us apart a little bit. That'll tell you if they're a thinker or a relator. See, the key here is to identify how do they like to communicate with as quickly as you can so that you could strengthen the relationship as much as you can. Does that answer that question? Hopefully that does. Okay. All right, I'm sharing with you guys everything I can here. All right. What else when it comes to the pre-qualification, or I'm sorry, the connecting. So as you're connecting with somebody, when you're capturing and contacting somebody, and by the way, 1 and 2 are pretty interchangeable. When you're connecting with somebody, you also want to make sure that you're getting enough information to determine if you're going to close for an appointment. This pre-listing lead sheet, it will be one of your best friends. I would recommend everybody take a screenshot of this and print it out, have it ready to go. This will also be sent to you as part of your book of materials from today's class. This listing lead sheet you should have in front of you, and as you're talking with your seller leads, boom, get it out and start asking some of these questions. Right? So the first ones, that's going to be your natural way of lead generating somebody. The remainder of ones are going to be things that as you're digging deeper into who they are and what they're about, and whether you want a FaceTime conversation with them, you're going to be digging deeper with some of those things. So what would happen if your house did not sell? How much do you want to list your home for? How much do you owe on the property? One of the biggest misconceptions I get from agents is they want to wait until a separate pre-qualification call to have these questions answered. Don't do that. Start digging deeper in that first conversation. Start opening that door in the first conversation. All right. Now, let's talk about the last piece here, which is closing for the appointment. So at this point, you've understood how to lead generate, specifically prospecting through the phones. You've understood that in connecting, we need to be identifying their communication style and have the listing lead sheet in front of us so that we're asking all the right questions, setting up for an appointment. Now, what we need to be doing next is understanding how to close for an appointment. What I'm about to show you here is a tool that many of the agents I've coached refer back to time and again when it comes to closing for an appointment, and that is the 10 classic closes. Okay, so I'm going to show you 10 classic closing techniques. You should be using a variety of these different techniques when you are closing for the appointment. Now, as I show you these 10 classic closing techniques, know this. When you're prospecting, on average, you're probably going to be asking for the close anywhere from 5 to 7 times. You will ask for the close 5 to 7 times before you get the appointment. So why I'm showing you this is, one, you need to have a tool belt of different types of closing. You can't just keep saying, let's meet, let's meet, let's meet. So the first one is the hard close. It's as simple as let's meet. It's just getting right to the point. The soft close is, I've really enjoyed visiting. I've really enjoyed speaking with you or visiting with you. Would you like to get together and discuss this further? So it's not being as direct as the hard close. So this is for many of the individuals who might be socializers or the personality profile of a high I. They might not like to ruffle feathers, or they might be new to sales. This is one way that you can close. The direct close is just getting right to it. Instead of saying, let's meet, you say, hey, Tony, so I understand you want to move here because of here by this time. Great. That means a meeting needs to get on the books. Can we meet this weekend, or does next week work better? Don't even say about let's meet. The indirect close, would it be okay if I got some information to look over and then we can meet to discuss it perhaps over Zoom? Number 5, this is my favorite one. By the way, in class number 3, we will be using the trial close quite a bit. Hey, so listen, have we gone over enough today to be able to get that meeting on the books where you and I can discuss this further? One of my favorite closing techniques. If they say no, great. Let's discuss some more then. Number 6, the assumptive close. Does everybody still see it? Because my display just went out. Did it just go black?
Yeah, I just go black.
Is it back?
Yep.
It's back. Okay, great. Thank you. Thank you, everyone. The assumptive close. It sounds like we should meet. So again, instead of let's meet, it sounds like we should meet. I'm available most times this week. So which works best for you? Number 7, the negative positive close. One of my favorite ways. Hey, you know, Tony, it sounds like you want to move here by here at this time. Would you be offended if I asked if we could have a meeting on the books? Most people will tell you, no, I'm not going to be offended. Really good technique. The take back close. I've really enjoyed visiting with you. To be honest, I'm not sure if I can help you or not. That take back right there, the to be honest, I'm not sure if I can help or not. One of the most powerful sales techniques you can do. People want what they can't have. People run away from being chased, but they will run towards you if you're running away from them. To be honest, I'm not sure if I can help or not, but I'd be honored if we can meet to find out. Really, really great technique there. Number 9, the tie down close. Hey, you know what, Tony? We talked about we talked about all of these goals here. Wouldn't it make sense for us to just meet in the next day or two and get this all figured out? Tie downs. Tie downs are now you're talking about yes or no questions. That only makes sense to respond with a yes. And then last but not least is the alternative choice. So Tony, this is what we've discussed. What works better for you in terms of a meeting? Today, tomorrow, or next week? Take a screenshot of these 10 techniques, and in your scripts practice and role play, whether it's with a partner, whether it's by yourself in front of a mirror, whether it's with your dog Chip, I don't care who it is, practice these closing techniques, a variety of them. Don't just get good at let's meet. I will tell you this, number 5, number 7, and number 9 will be some of the best ones that you can use in your business, but also requires the most skills. Because you got to really be thinking about how do I use the trial close, negative, positive, and tie down close most effectively. 5, 7, and 9 you should be practicing. Take a screenshot of those. So look, here's the deal. I don't care which closing you use a close and ask for it. The right approach to closing for a meeting is the only approach, which is asking for the close. Thank you, Gary. Okay? So don't be concerned around asking for the appointment. The worst that can happen is they say not now, and then great. All you then do at that point is you cultivate them. And we talked about those cultivation strategies. Get them in your database. Make sure your database is not a dumpster, but it's a gold mine. And it's a gold mine because it really takes care of the people. Jean, you said, can you please go back one picture? Mine was blurry. Was it this one or the closes? I'm sorry which one it was. This will be in your post-class packet. And I guess I didn't cover that. I'm going to be sending a whole packet of information. So I just want to make sure you guys screenshot some things so that way you can start practicing right away, because the closing packet will be sent out tomorrow. And I don't want you guys to have to wait on me. Okay. The right approach is to close for it. Okay. Cultivate. Make sure you have these plans in place. This is the one thing that you should be doing right away. Your database is your business, ladies and gentlemen. Your business and your business is your database. If your business, if your database isn't taken care of, your business will have struggles. Okay? They will have struggles. You'll be putting people into your database thinking they're being nurtured, and then you'll have a conversation with me one day saying, oh my gosh, I just got sick to my stomach because I just missed out on 45 grand in gross commission income. Get your 0 to 14, 15 to 60, and 61 to 90-day cultivation plan set so that with a click of a button, when you find those individuals, they're getting cultivated. And then get the other cultivation plans in place. That is to-do item number 1. Okay, a couple other things I want to share with you all before we wrap this up. You should have a daily tracker of some sort. This will be in your post-class packet. This is a great way for you to track the conversations you're having. Why you would use something like this is because what I want everybody to be doing in this class is when you are prospecting and in lead conversion mode, you should not be slowing down to write in your database after every single conversation. Get things jotted down. Who is the person? Did you call them? Did you make a contact? Did you leave a message? Blah, 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 blah. And then move on to the next one. Your prospecting time, you should be going through contacts like I go through, I don't know, towels. I don't know. My wife hates that I use a new towel every time I take a shower. But go through things. It's oversharing. But use a call log sheet like this so that way you can go from one contact to the next, to the next, to the next. Your lead generation time, the combination of 3 hours, should be 30 minutes of script practice and role play, 2 hours of lead generation, 30 minutes of database management. I'll say that again, 30 minutes of scripts practice role play, which by the way, are 2 different activities. You practice your scripts to internalize a dialogue. You role play to practice handling objections. 30 minutes of that. 2 hours of lead generation, dial for dollars, small and dial. I don't care what it's called. Door knock and, I don't know, buy new socks. And then you do in the remaining 30 minutes of going back in, transposing everything from this call log into your business database. Also every day, have a weekly activity tracker. You all committed, or at least most of you committed to starting to track your numbers. When we have the most amazing class your business will ever go through right after Win with Sellers, called the Business Planning Clinic, you will be thanking yourself for tracking these numbers on a daily and weekly basis. You might not understand why, and this is where I will tell you, trust blindly in tracking these numbers, because come November, you will be so thankful you did so. This will be in your post-class packet, a weekly activity tracker so that you could start tracking those numbers. I'm gonna see if I can get this packet out to you today. To be very honest with you, we are wrapping up the funeral of the family member that passed away. So I'm gonna be going to a procession, but after that, I'm gonna try and get the post-close packet. That's why I'm positioning tomorrow. But I'm gonna see if I can get that over to you all tonight, because I want you guys to start getting on this stuff tonight, if not tomorrow. I don't want there to be any time wasted. You guys are entrusting your valuable time with me and learning about these things. I want to make sure it's valuable use of time. Okay. Guys, that was an hour and 50 minutes of hopefully valuable content. How you can help me understand if that was a valuable use of time is by unmuting yourself and or getting those little fingers ready on the keyboard and start talking to me about what were the major points, and not ahas, because as many of you might know, in a Daniel Mahabir class, we call our ahas mahas. So what mahas or major points did you take from today's class? Who would like to unmute and share?
Yeah. Ralph is in the background. He never heard I can't believe it, but he's never heard mahas. I'm like, you've never heard him say that? So I don't even know where to start, really. I took a ton of notes. The ABC, I think when you talked about the I forgot what you called them, like the prospects that are going to buy in the first 90 days, the 0 to 14 days, 15 to 60 days, and 61 to 90 was great for me, because I am really good about keeping in touch with my database, but I think that's a really good guideline to go by. So that was super helpful.
Beautiful. Yes. One of the most important cultivation strategies you can create. Who else?
I concur with Edie. There's just so many, like, there's a ton of nuggets that I took away from this, and Jan, you and I chat all the time, but a lot, it was like the 10 closings, tie downs. I thought that was pretty helpful.
Yes, practice that, please. Have a variety of tools in the closing. Who else?
Mine were two. The closes were definitely awesome. That was fantastic. And two, that it's okay to have your wife wash as often as possible so I can have fresh towels.
Adrian,
Don't do that.
I hope your wife is nearby and yours too.
No, she yells at me. Ask her about my towel habit. She will smack me.
That's funny.
What else?
I've been using the same one for a long time though.
Yeah, I'm telling you, especially with COVID-19 stuff, I'm sorry. I like a clean body. What else? Before we digress anymore.
I really like the psychology of how you position, the mindset of the seller. So that really helped me. So thank you.
You're welcome. Yes. We need to be in the mindset of our prospects, not our own, right? The golden rule is to treat others how we like to be treated. The platinum rule is to treat others how they want to be treated, right? And so we got to understand their mindset when we go into any sort of dialogue.
This was actually my first time hearing about the power of the word because. I had never heard that. So it's something that I'm going to look to implement during my cold calling tomorrow.
Yeah, just make sure one thing, Alicia, and this goes for anybody else. You got to be really clear on why you're meeting with people. Then it makes it really easy to end that because statement. When you don't, and that's where I see agents also struggle when it comes for the closing, they have no idea why they're setting up an appointment. So think about that, right? For me, it's simple. It's a game plan 100% of the time. Okay. Anybody else?
Yeah, I really like that phrase that you used, who's keeping you up to date on your real estate market today, as a way of extending a conversation and getting in deeper. I thought that was really good. I'm going to keep that one. And I like the closings to nail down a specific date instead of letting it drag on and having a way to get back in there and finalize that meeting, which is what this is all about.
That's exactly right. Yep. Just remember this, okay? When it comes to those closings, because it sounds like many of you jotted that down, took a screenshot, whatever it may be, just like with any form of scripts practice, you got to internalize that, okay? So use what's comfortable with you and what you've internalized now, and definitely start to practice those different types of closes. And it doesn't hurt to give one of them a shot once in a while, right? But you got to internalize them. Don't just jump right into it because they could sound awkward if you don't know the appropriate way of using some of them.
Mm-hmm.
So practice and practice and practice them. Some last minute other ones I got was pool time. Let's jump in. Justin, man, if you want to wait 30 minutes for me to jump in a pool, man, I can't achieve goals if I don't define them. 100% true. Just do it. That's a big one. Yes, jump in the pool. Be to achieve. Oh, man. I'm having that conversation a lot right now, Gene. Be to achieve, right? You don't want to have a conversation around do so much. You got to be honest with, are you the version of yourself first and foremost that's going to get you to the goals you want to be? Then we could talk about do. Good closing techniques. Don't say, how are you in prospecting? Again, and Andrew, just to clarify that, say it towards the end, right? I remember, so I did a live cold calling session for some of my agents, and they were vehemently denying that. This was right when COVID-19 was hitting too. They're like, no, you got to check on people. Nobody wants to hear from a salesperson. I said, watch. Don't do that, right? It's awkward. But I will say one thing. When I was live cold calling, there was a person who was pretty closed off. They didn't want to talk about, where they want to move, why they want to move. But I said, okay, great. You know what, though? Human to human. How are you doing with everything going on? I'm doing okay. And I appreciate you asking that. I was like, hey man, I'm just here to help. And I appreciate that. If there's anything you need personally, let me know what I could do to help you out. You just don't want to start with that because it's awkward. Understand who I need to be. Yep. I really appreciate the conversation around cultivating. I'm new to sales. And so these types of insights are super helpful. Justin, and this goes for everybody here. I'm just going to make a recommendation. Be careful the language you're using. I'm new to sales. Man, that can jack your mindset up when you go into prospecting. Say, I have yet to master sales. That'll just change the whole landscape of what you do when you jump into it. When you say I'm new to sales, you give yourself permission to fail. You treat yourself like you're going to bumble through things. Don't do that. I have yet to master sales. Now you're on a journey with a clear end goal in mind. That'd be my only addition there to that. And so these types of insights are super helpful. I like the communication styles. Yes. It's kind of like love languages. Absolutely, Christina. Just, some other things to it. Once again, systematizing is the key to lead gen. Systems, you're going to learn all about systems. Who's keeping you up to date? So much to think about. I guess I'm a thinker. Learn about scripts. Yes, and yes. Just for big reminder, track my numbers, and business planning class. Awesome. All right. Last reminder. This Friday, we are going to be doing part 2. Okay. So I know that this is a lot. This is 4 hours of your week. Next week's class, I'm actually going to commit. It's going to be 90 minutes, not 2 hours, because we're going to jump right into some things. So it's the pre-listing packet and it's the listing consultation. It'll be 90 minutes from 12 to 1:30. Join me this Friday. No need to register. Use the same link, and I will send you another email that reminds you of the link. And let's start getting into, now that you have gotten to the table, or at least you've gotten a commitment to being to the table, let's make sure that you're not just waiting to get to the table to start the experience, that you're actually wowing them immediately upon getting that on your calendar. So we'll talk about that and what to say and techniques when you're there. Really, really good stuff. I'm excited. Thank you everyone for joining me today. Looking forward to sending you the recording and seeing all of your businesses grow in this crazy butt market we're in. Have a great rest of your day, and I will talk to you on Friday.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Thanks, Daniel.
Thank you, Justin.
Thank you, Daniel.
Thank you, Marilee.
Learned a lot.
All right. That's all I'm here for. Thank you, thank you, thank you.